Emma Collins, a talented young professional, walked into the gleaming office building. Her black dress pressed perfectly and heels clicking against the polished marble floor. She had worked hard for this day, an important interview and presentation with key executives that could finally secure her promotion. But as soon as she entered, a group of interns and junior employees began whispering, laughing at her attire and demeanor. Moments later, one of the interns, confident and brash, suddenly pulled at Emma's skirt, causing it to rip slightly. Gas filled the room. Some people laughed, others pulled out phones to film. Emma froze, her face flushing with shame. She didn't yell, didn't cry. She simply steadied herself, held her papers tightly, and walked toward the HR office. Her colleagues' whispers were cruel, mocking her as though she had done something wrong. Her humiliation didn't stop there. The intern Mark smirked at her and said, "Relax, just a joke. You don't belong here anyway." The words stung more than the torn fabric. Emma felt a rush of anger mixed with despair, but she didn't respond. She called her husband later, her voice trembling but determined. "Honey, something happened. I need you here." Though embarrassed, Emma's mind was already racing. She had faced subtle discrimination and microaggressions in this office before, but this blatant public humiliation pushed her to a breaking point. She resolved that day that she would no longer allow others to undermine her. Emma might have been embarrassed, but she would find her way to justice, not through confrontation, but by claiming the power that no one expected her to wield. After the incident, Emma spent days reflecting, planning, and quietly gathering information. She wasn't just a victim, she was strategic. She knew her husband, David Collins, had recently been appointed CEO of the parent company overseeing this branch. With his influence and her knowledge of the office dynamics, Emma saw a way to reclaim her dignity and reshape the toxic work environment. Emma began documenting every incident of harassment, collecting emails, messages, and testimonies from sympathetic colleagues. She analyzed the company's structure, identifying weaknesses in leadership and patterns of discrimination. She also coordinated quietly with her husband, sharing evidence and preparing for the perfect moment to make a dramatic shift in power. Meanwhile, the intern who humiliated her remained arrogant, unaware that his actions would trigger a major shakeup. Emma kept her composure, attending meetings and presenting her work flawlessly, silently reminding everyone that she was far more competent than they assumed. Her resilience was quiet but calculated. She knew that timing was everything. An immediate reaction could backfire, but patience combined with preparation would give her a decisive advantage. In her personal time, Emma practiced her presentation for a corporate summit where the leadership and board would be present. She wasn't just preparing slides. She was preparing to assert her presence, highlight her achievements, and demonstrate that anyone who underestimated her would regret it. Her plan was not about revenge and anger. It was about proving her worth and letting justice unfold naturally through her husband's authority as CEO. The day of the corporate summit arrived. The office was buzzing with energy. High-ranking executives, board members, and staff gathered to celebrate quarterly achievements and discuss future projects. Emma arrived in her black dress, standing tall and composed. Mark, the intern who had humiliated her, was smugly mingling, unaware that the tide was about to turn. Just as the presentations began, the room doors swung open. David Collins, Emma's husband and the new CEO, entered. His presence commanded immediate attention. Tall, confident, and impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, he walked past security and directly to the center of the room. Whispers rippled through the crowd. No one expected the CEO to arrive mid-summit, let alone with the authority he carried. David stopped in front of Mark, holding a tablet showing internal security footage of the harassment incident. Tell me, which part of humiliating an employee aligns with our company values?" he asked calmly. The room went silent. Mark stammered, attempting a feeble excuse. David's voice was firm. "You're done here." Emma stood next to him, finally recognized not as a victim, but as someone whose dignity and intelligence could no longer be ignored. The board reviewed the evidence, and the company leadership quickly acted to remove toxic employees. In front of her colleagues, Emma's presence and her husband's decisive intervention transformed the office dynamics. She was no longer the one mocked. She was a symbol of respect and justice. With Mark and other enablers removed, the company's culture began to shift immediately. Emma was promoted to a leadership role, overseeing workplace culture and employee relations. Employees who had once laughed at her now recognized her strength, professionalism, and insight. David, as CEO, supported Emma's initiatives to implement diversity, inclusion, and anti-harassment programs. Emma's experience became a case study within the company, inspiring other employees to stand up for their dignity. The office that had humiliated her was now a place where respect and accountability were prioritized. In her final moment in the same office where she had been mocked, Emma stood in her black dress, holding a company report and smiling confidently. Mark and others who had underestimated her were now humbled, witnessing the consequences of their arrogance. Turning to her husband, she said softly, "Ira, it's not me who cried." Today, they learned a lesson. The office was no longer a place of shame. It was a place of empowerment. Emma's journey proved that strategic patience, intelligence, and dignity could turn humiliation into triumph. She had reclaimed her power, reshaping the company and earning the respect she had always deserved.